How would a nurse say, "The baby inside is dead," to a pregnant person? I imagine an empathetic nurse would phrase it more like, "I'm so sorry. I don't detect a heartbeat." I have read stories on Reddit of nurses just saying, "Hold on. I need to get a second opinion." Or something like that. Can't imagine how the anxiety would feel hearing that. As someone who has had several miscarriages, the emotional response was probably due to the news itself, not the way it was presented. There really isn't a way to deliver that news in a way that won't result in being upset. How it's always been delivered to me was basically, "Unfortunately there is no heartbeat. And the baby is only measuring at X weeks." When you're Y weeks along, at this point you have two options. Either wait for your body to miscarry naturally, or you can undergo a procedure to have the contents removed. All said with kindness, of course. So it was never, "Your baby is dead," or "Your lump of cells isn't growing," but it was always very clear what was happening. There would be pauses in between sentences to make sure I understood what was being said. As someone who had this happen, they will call in the doctor to confirm there is no heartbeat via ultrasound, and the doctor will say there is no heartbeat and the embryo is not viable once they are finished taking images. I'm sure they would say it slightly differently if you are further along. But generally it is the doctor who should be giving the news and not the nurse. Breaking bad news is, or if it isn't, certainly should be, a core part of medical personnel training, often trained to start with a warning shot. So the nurse will likely say something along the lines of, "I'm struggling finding a heartbeat," or "I'm detecting something may be wrong." They'd usually then say they need to confirm with a doctor. The doctor may say something along the lines of, "I'd been asked to review your scans as the nurse had been having difficulty finding a heartbeat. I'm so sorry. I was unable to find a heartbeat, and this means that your baby has passed away, died." Plenty of time then needs to be given to the parents to process what you have said and then to ask questions. Needs to be done in a private room with a notice on the door not to disturb. The warning shot method is a way of stopping the initial jolt of the bad news as much as possible. It's a hard line to tread, as you don't want to bluntly come out with, "Unfortunately your baby has died," but equally it's cruel to keep parents in the dark for longer than necessary. Due to the hecticness of medicine and the fact that staff can often be on long shifts with little rest and too much work, and emotionally burnt out, it can be a very difficult thing to do correctly. Part of the reason medical staff should have regular emotional support and rest breaks. The show This Is Going to Hurt was a fantastic example how the mental health struggles, burnout and general lack of support medical staff get can affect treatment of patients. It's very important to not use ambiguous language. Where I'm from, "passed away" is almost unanimously known as another word for died, but it could be criticized for being ambiguous. Clear terminology can seem blunt and overly clinical, but it's used for a reason. They took me a small room and the doctor looked me in the eye and said, "There's no easy way to say this, but the baby has died. I'm so sorry. I was about 5 months along. It was hell." Okay. My cousin and her husband work for the NHS in the gyno section. I have a long answer for you. I have asked this question, and a nurse would not be the one who will be conveying this to the couple. It's always the duty doctor. Obviously there have been instances where nurses found out beforehand the doctor arrives, but they always make up some excuse to go and get a doctor. Sometimes my cousin tries to give a sense of normalcy after the doctor leaves, for e.g., she will say spin it in a way that the pregnancy, even though not completely successful, is a sign that the couple could have a child soon, and they can obviously try and get better medical care and treatment in case something is wrong. Bear in mind, A lot of her patients are from immigrant communities who speak the same language, so they find it easier to relate to her. She doesn't say anything like this to people who she cannot connect with. So, when the doctor arrives, basically he will skim through the file to see about the age and other details. If the couple is young, the doctor will use a variation of, "You are young and healthy and you can try again anytime." The doctor will then explain some details to be discussed, give the couple some space to sort themselves out, and ask them to join him in his desk. Once the couple is ready, he will give them options on what can be done and based on the situation. Sometimes he will say what went wrong. They have pamphlets and brochures ready always for these treatments, and ask them to go home and talk it out between themselves. When it comes to older couples who obviously have been trying for a while, the doctor in charge and the nurses already might know the couple from previous visits. My cousin has had patients who had more than 10 miscarriages and had a healthy baby after. These kinds of patients doesn't bother with sugarcoating most of the times. They want straightforward answers, and they most probably has done their research regarding these. So the doctor has to be a bit more open with them and just give them something positive to look forward to, like some positive results or some alternative methods they can try. Since they have a lot of immigrant communities, superstition is high as well compared to the British. Patients and doctors struggle with certain couples to convey these issues that they have. FYI, I am not an expert on these, and the answer is based on some random conversations I had with my cousin and her husband. It might be different in different places, or it might be the same. So take whatever I said like any other Reddit comment. The nurse switches from "your baby" to "product of conception" was very hard to take, and still remember it 20 years later. I suppose it's hard for them too, but harder for the mom-to-be to suddenly switch to a person who just has product of conception. So I lost my first at 14.3 weeks. The nurse took abnormally long to scan and told me she needed to speak with my doctor really quick. I knew then, but had hoped I was wrong. The doctor came in and scanned my again, and they said, "I'm so sorry, but I can't find your baby's heartbeat." I instantly couldn't breathe and had a panic attack. They told me to take my time, but I needed to go to the hospital down the road and have a chemical induction to have him. They phoned ahead. The hospital was amazing. They put a butterfly on my door so everyone knew what was happening. They removed all baby photos in the hallway they took me down. I didn't ask them to, it's just their procedure. And placed me in a large quiet room by myself to induce labor. I was there 3 days. It was hell on earth. The OB I had was a bitch because I delivered him when she was sleeping and they had to wake her up. She tried ripping out the placenta, even though it was still attached to me inside, because she just wanted to be done with me and go to sleep. The nurses were angels though. Worst days of my life. It happened to me, and the nurse had zero urgency when I came in with bleeding. She then had zero sympathy when she told me the pregnancy had terminated. That's what she said. It has terminated. A nurse wouldn't be the one giving this news. Especially not a student nurse. This would come from a physician. Some people are saying a doctor would say it better. But there is no good way of telling someone there is no heartbeat. At 40 weeks my midwife told me, "I am sorry, but there is no heartbeat." Then she looked back at the person she was training and in front of me and my fiancé said, "This is the first stillborn in the 10 years my practice has been open." Not something we wanted to hear. L&D nurse here. The physicians tell them. It's direct but spoken with kindness and compassion. I'm here to help them process the bereavement. It happened to us at about 14 weeks. The midwife was looking for a heartbeat but couldn't find one. She said so quite matter-of-factly and said someone from the hospital would be in touch then. Ushered us out of the door. We didn't know what that meant. Was our baby dead? We had so many questions and were very upset. We waited 3 days for the hospital to get in touch. And they called us in for another scan. The technician found the heartbeat straight away. Turns out our baby wasn't dead. It's just the midwife was both an idiot and an arsehole. Had something similar happen when I miscarried my daughter's twin. I was in the military and on leave initially. I went to a civilian hospital because I took a pregnancy test and it was positive. I wanted to be sure everything was okay right away. They did an ultrasound and found that it was twins. Well, just a couple days later, I really started to bleed, went back to the same clinic, and they were afraid that I was miscarrying. They told me to stay lying down and resting and hope for the best. Unfortunately, I needed to get to my new duty station 3 states away. So my mom put a mattress in the back part of a large van and drove me across 3 states while I bled and was sick as a dog. I get to my duty station, go right to the doctor and get told, oh, well, things happen, just go to work like nothing is wrong. WTF. I did miscarry 1 twin. But my daughter continued to develop perfectly. And I didn't have any further problems. But the difference in attitudes between the 2 doctors just blew my mind. The first doctor was so concerned for me and the babies. And the second one was all too bad. So sad. The nurse would most likely keep her suspicions to herself and grab the doctor. No one likes having these conversations. And the nurse would not want to deliver an inaccurate message. As a physician, I tend to get to the point relatively quickly and unambiguously. I define what I know and don't know. I try to outline next steps or decisions. I then try to sit and listen. Let the patient decide where the conversation needs to go. In my line of work, I don't have the dead baby talk. There are probably some specific strategies with that conversation that thankfully I don't have to. No. This happened to my wife and I. The ultrasound tech didn't really say anything other than letting us know the doctor will be in shortly. It sucked a lot as the doctor laid it out that there was no heartbeat. Later learned it's pretty common. First-hand experience here. We're unable to locate a heartbeat. How do you lose a heartbeat in something the size of a fist? Quote, oh. That happened to my friend. The day she was supposed to have a C-section, the nurse came and couldn't hear the heartbeat. The nurse was young and new to the hospital and started crying. She didn't say anything, just called the doctor, but my friend knew what was going on. I can never imagine the pain she went through. Not the nurse. A doctor may come in and say, the fetus is no longer viable, but that means the same thing. Something along the lines of, I'm so sorry, but your baby has no heartbeat and has passed away. But ultimately that's a conversation for a doctor to have. Also, it would be tactfully, not tactically. The first means full of care, tact. The second is like well planned, as in a military maneuver.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. TooAfraidToAsk is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.